Cook County's property tax bills will be coming late. Now, that might sound like a good thing, but Amanda Vinicky joins us now to explain why it is the opposite and what's behind the delay. Amanda, I think we're having a hard time hearing you.
Thank you, Brandis. Sorry about that. Okay. Who wouldn't want to reprieve from a hefty property tax bill, right? And that does sound good on its face. During the pandemic, in fact, homeowners were given grace periods, and that was both a calculated endeavor on the part of officials, and it was something that was really helpful to a lot of homeowners. But this is different in that the delay is unplanned and it is not strategic. It is in fact due to an upset between two independent Cook County offices and elected officials who collectively are responsible for determining the value of properties. And that, of course, is an important factor because the assessed value of a property is a key factor in determining how much a homeowner or a building owner has to pay in taxes. Now, normally bills would be going out in June, maybe July, and due August 1st. Instead, there is speculation that it might not get done through the end of the year. Now, Cook County Commissioner John Daly says going past then would be a problem when it comes to filing taxes.
If it's late beyond this year, you would not be able to write it off your for your income tax, and that's a big concern.
A big concern because, of course, it could cost people a lot of money if they don't get that write-off. Also a problem for governmental bodies. So you're thinking school districts, park districts, libraries that depend on tax dollars to run their own operations. If taxpayers are late getting and then paying their property tax bills, then governments will be late receiving that money.
They would, as a taxing district, they would have to go out and possibly borrow money. And possibly borrow if they don't have enough money in reserve in order to cover their expenses.
And that would in turn cost all of us as taxpayers because that money has to be paid back.
It would be a domino effect because those taxing districts, whether it be the education, which is the largest part of a tax bill, would have to go out and borrow money.
And Daly this week chaired a 3-hour-long county finance committee hearing trying to get to the bottom of what is behind this delay and what can be done about it. He said he heard a lot of finger pointing. And frankly, that is what I heard too, as I spoke with both a representative from Cook County Assessor Fritz Kage's office, as well as the chair of the other entity, and that is the Board of Review. Now, Kage was unavailable today for an interview, but here's the gist of what his spokesperson had to say when he provided a timeline to back all of this up. He says that the county back in 2015 allocated $30 million that was to be used for upgrades to an outdated technology system. He says that Kage's predecessor didn't really do much or anything with it and called that a waste of taxpayer money. Kage got that going. This is largely about fiscal responsibility, but also making sure we are not taking on technical risk that puts people's data and, quite frankly, the value of their homes at risk, his spokesperson said. But the problem is the system, that tech system, did not communicate with the Board of Review's technology that they're using. So Kage's spokesperson compared this to an Atari trying to run a game from a modern PlayStation. So that caused a delay as a technical bridge was built to bridge literally those two divides. As a result, things are 4 to 5 months behind. The Board of Review, however, says that that is a red herring, smoke and mirrors. He says it was the wrong time for Kage's office to pursue this upgrade and that the assessor went about it wrong.
I think it's a red herring to blame technology. You decide when to turn on your computer. You decide when to implement new technology. You decide when to deploy new software. And that's what he did wrong. He implemented those things at the wrong time in the wrong fashion and contrary to best practices.
Kage is, by the way, facing a tough re-election battle, a primary battle. Rogers says, however, this is not about that, but he did not hold back against Kage.
I'm approaching I've been at the Board of Review for 18 years. I've had a chance to see a variety of different assessors. Assessor Kagi is by far the worst in terms of the decisions that he has made, the implementation he has carried out, his failure to communicate effectively for the benefit of taxpayers, and quite frankly, just the errors in his assessments.
There have, by the way, been 3 assessors since Rogers took over as chair of the Board of Review. For most of that period, from 2010 until he lost in 2018, that assessor was Joe Barrios, who lost re-election to Kagi in 2018 while he was under a cloud of ethical questions and also a deep dive by the Chicago Tribune that found Barrios had used a flawed system in assessing properties. For his part, Daley says that he is over the finger pointing. He just wants the issue resolved.
The treasurer was very clear and the clerk was very clear. They are ready to go print the bills today if they have them, but they don't. So basically it's the assessor and the board of review must come together and resolve this. And as I said, no, we aren't enough pointing fingers. Whatever was done was done. It's over. Get the bills out.
Kagi's office stands by its work and notes that an International Association of Assessing Officers says that under Kagi, assessments are more accurate than they have been in the past. We've implemented the first phase of an investment that the county approved back in 2015, recently won an award for our customer service. These are things Assessor Kagi has done, his spokesperson said. Again, the Board of Review cannot get started on its work until it gets information from the assessor. The Board of Review says it just received that, really the last big chunk of it, earlier this month. Now, it does have a goal, or there is a goal of getting this all done by November, but Chairman Rogers says that there is so much to be done that he cannot make a guarantee that that will happen. With that, back to you.
Amanda, thank you.